Hi, and welcome to Complete and Cast, the official podcast of Complete and Box Video Games. I'm your host, Spencer, and today, in episode 20, we're talking the evolution of Madden with your guest, Ezra Wise. Ezra, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
So when we were first talking about subjects we could talk about, I think one of the big things that we have in common is we both love football in general, and we could probably go on and on. Now let's just get this out of the way first. I'm sorry for this year. You're a Bengals fan,
it is unfortunate.
and it was going really good.
It never.
I mean, it was going. Oh, I don't want to say really good. It was going decently good for
this
for
year.
A while.
For
the last 5 or 6 years. For the last 5 or 6 years. No, not this year.
Not this year at all. No, for the past couple pretty much since the Andy Dalton and the Green era, things have been going.
Right. So I have to ask you first before we even go into Madden. Should Marvin Lewis is his name, right?
Absolutely.
Should he stay or should he be fired?
Oh, no, he should be fired.
He should be fired.
He should be gone.
Okay.
He's never won a playoff game.
I mean, it's just one of those things where you get to a certain point, but it's like fans really want more. It's
He's
like
not getting
even
over the hump.
so let me put it this way. If last year they would have won that infamously terrible game against the Steelers in the playoffs with the Burfisit hit and all that stuff, if they would have won just that game, would you still be saying the same thing?
Yes, because of what happened this year.
Okay.
Because you can't go where, hey, we made it past the wild card round, we're on to the divisional round. Hey, if you make that, we're on to the conference, whatever, and then come back this year and not even have a winning record.
Isn't that the tough part about being a coach? if you show you're good and you have one bad year, they're like, why aren't you good anymore?
Well, it's not even that. It's 6 years in a row.
I guess that is true. You've been good for 6 years. I mean, if you're Jeff Fisher and you're 8-8 for 6 years, they go, whoa, you went 9-7. Good job, big boy.
Exactly.
Let's sign you to an extension. So that's we'll get into more actual football, but today we're here to talk about Madden. Now, for you longtime fans of the show, you will remember in episode 7 we spoke with friend of the store Mush Ka about Madden. Now, in that particular one, we talked more basic stuff like soundtracks, favorite game, favorite players. But today we're diving a little bit deeper into the meat of Madden games. For that rare breed of us, like us two in the room, that love both video games and football a bit too much and try to kind of, bounce it together. So, let's start off here at the very beginning.
Okay.
What was the first Madden game that you played?
Very first Madden was Madden 95 on Genesis. And that's why I fell in love. I loved it. But I loved it for the reasons of, one, it's football, but I didn't know a lot about football. But we could just jam out. You picked your favorite team, and you just rocked. And
was it still the Bengals back then?
No, then.
Oh, okay, all right.
Then it was the 49ers for me, and my brother was the Dolphins.
Okay, and in '95 that made a lot of sense because that was Steve Young era.
Yeah, the Steve Young and
I think they won in '94 and everything. So
against the Chargers, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
My dad and my brother were huge Joe Montana fans, but even when he left, they stayed with the 49ers. So for me with '95, that's all we ever played.
So it was a thing for you where it was love at first play.
Yes, because I didn't play. It was like I was adopted, so when I came into the family, I never played video games. So this is my first crack at video games. It's literally it was the first game I ever played.
Oh, okay. So that's even better. That's like everyone always has that childhood game where they're like, yeah, it's my childhood game. So that is your game.
And
where
that was mine. Dude. And literally as I said, it was love at first because I was actually decent at it because it's like you didn't have to do football. Just pick this, play whichever one, and just run with the guy. And
we're gonna go a little bit further and deeper into that later.
Yeah, I don't want to divulge too much right now.
When long story short, into that when the games first started, they were a lot simpler. Obviously.
Oh yeah, way simpler. I mean, you had 12 plays on offense and 12 plays on deep, pretty, in the formation, you didn't really go by formation.
It was usually not formation. It was let's go back to, and again, this is about Madden, but if you go to Tecmo Super Bowl.
Right, yeah.
You had, I mean, this is crazy to think, but Tecmo Super Bowl actually added a lot, because the original Tecmo Bowl, I think, don't quote me on this, I'm sorry, Tecmo fans, I think had two, trust me, you always have to say that before you say something on the internet, or else there'll be someone that'll be like, wait a minute!
Oh, yeah.
I'm the #1 Tecmo fan. Okay, so sorry if I get this wrong.
Right.
I think it had 2 run and 2 pass plays. I think that was it. And then when Tecmo Super Bowl came out, and again, I apologize. It had like 4 or 8 of each plays, of each run and pass.
See, I never played
it. But it was still very simple. It was like for run, it was like pitch, run, counter.
Right.
Nothing like super crazy like these cutbacks or
Yeah, men had like long pass, medium pass, short pass, and then you had like your basic up the middle.
Were there audibles back then? I kind of forget.
Not in '95.
Okay.
No, and you couldn't flip your play.
Okay.
So like they had a run to the right, and they had the same run, but it also went to the left. So
but you had to pick that beforehand.
Right, you had to pick it beforehand, and you hope you hit the right button.
Well, and when we're talking about the Madden games and being so simplistic in the past, clearly this is also a dichotomy of the video game world as well. I mean, you look at any series, you're like, oh, Mario was simpler back then. Of course it was.
Yeah.
I believe that is because video games in general... now, let's start by saying the technology of the last 50 years clearly is insane. My dad, who isn't ancient, but he's old, tells us, and he, again, this isn't like finding an old history book. He's like, we didn't have a television. And it's like, that wasn't weird. That was like, he was like, we were the first on the block to get a television.
And that was weird when you were the first one.
Right. And it's like, again, he's still alive and kicking, and it's not like you're finding this 200-euro textbook that's like, they didn't have TVs. It's like, no one did. And they were the first one to have it, and it was like they had 2 channels, and people came over to be like, the heck's that,
Right, and everyone crowded, and it was black and white.
And it was black and white, and it was 2 channels and everything. But I feel like, and obviously technology is so changed over the past 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
But I do feel like video games has improved even faster. I mean, look as an example from a video game made in 1999 compared to 2017. Here's a great example compared to movies. Here's a great example. We watched A Bug's Life the other day.
Okay.
I think that was like 99, 2000, something like that.
Yeah.
It still looks pretty good. I mean, you're not going to be like, is that Finding Dory? But it's it looks. You're not like, oh god, I can't watch this. Like, it looks good.
For being like a computer animated style movie.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And there are some games that in 1999 you could look at, I love the original Metal Gear Solid from 98, but sometimes you look at it and you're like, you have to get in the zone to handle the graphics and everything. Yeah. Whereas you don't have to be like, oh, I'm watching Bug's Life, I got to get myself in the retro zone right here. So I do feel like games have really, really advanced even quicker. So let's go back, with all that being said, to your beginning with Madden.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself as an elementary school kid playing these games on the Genesis. I mean, how could it get any better, right?
I mean, for me, as I said, no, it was the best. Like, at the time, I did not imagine it would get any, thought that graphically it was going to look real. But it didn't matter.
Right.
It was so much fun, and it was real, because I was controlling this guy for this team I'm airing the ball out, I'm running with, and we were the only kids on the block who actually had a gaming system.
Okay.
So all the neighbor kids, after school, would come over, and we'd have these little tournaments, with whether it was Madden or even Sonic was a big one we used to play, and it was like you'd play until you died, and then someone else would get it, and you'd try to see how far you could go.
I have a similar thing with. Do you remember the Sega channel back then? I have a similar. Man. Okay, so that was a service through the cable company where Sega Channel went through your Genesis. I forget if it was through a modem or whatever, where you would have all these games to choose from. They would change every month because it would just imagine Netflix, but it was Sega. And I would go the whole way up to a friend's house to go check it out, and see what the new games were. And again that's just really crazy. Now, looking back, it's 2017 now, but looking back to those Genesis games and those really old games, considering their age, what are some stuff that they did really, really well?
It's simplicity. But beyond that, honestly, it was just being able to play 2 people at the same time without having to split a screen. With you played Sonic, you could both be on the same screen at the same time, and if you got caught without the other person, they'd either get warped back to you.
Right.
And especially TVs weren't as big back then. So when you split the screen, if you were going to play, I'm trying to think, there was a racing game that it did split the screen, because you can't obviously race in the same, but it was so the screen
It
was
makes
so
it so
small.
tough. It's hard to imagine when we played. Every kid played like Mario Kart.
Yeah,
right.
and
It's
you
hard to
split the
imagine that it
four-
was like a quarter of a screen. It's hard to imagine that nowadays.
It's like now it's like if you hook up to a 50-inch TV, it's like your little section is as
the
big
TV.
as the TV as it was when you first started, when the game came out.
That is absolutely amazing. And you know, you mentioned, and we might even go into this later, but you mentioned the simplicity of it. I just got done earlier today. I hopped online and I played a couple games of Madden, and I feel like it's so complex, whether for good or bad nowadays, that like if you're just gonna be like, if you're gonna go online and play against someone who's like decently good, you can't be like shotgun Hail Mary pass all day kind of thing.
You
Whereas like
have to...
totally back then, you could pretty much get away with that, being like
when
doing the same play over and over.
Well, that's what, like, when me and my brother, like, as once the Maddens got, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but as like the Maddens got you know, I should say newer and graphically better, was it Madden 03? He was the Dolphins, I was then the Vikings, because the Bengals were just absolutely horrible. But I liked Randy. This is when Randy Moss was huge. And this is also 03, I think it was Ricky Williams' rookie year for the Dolphins.
All right.
So he just comes out of Texas or whatever, has that monster year, Heisman winner, goes to Miami, and so he would literally, it was the same play, and I knew what he was doing. Couldn't stop it. You know, 80, 90 yards, and then I would just air it out to Rent, but we loved it.
Right.
It was fun.
Right.
It was
right.
a shootout. It pretty much came down to who scored last.
And that is
you
not
you didn't care about the defense because you knew you couldn't do anything about it.
That's not a thing anymore. You can't do the same play over and over again. It's not gonna work like that.
Unless
like,
you set it to like rookie.
Right, unless I'm talking, unless you set it to rookie. If you're playing like actual, you know, people,
right?
So even before Madden, sports games and football in general have really just, oh my god, like advanced so much. It's crazy. Now it's a pretty famous story that the original Madden, which I believe was on PC, I don't think it ever came out on any consoles, was delayed from hitting the shelves because John Madden himself would not put his name on the game until it featured 11-on-11 football. And that was something that the programmers were like, dude, do you understand what you're asking us to do? And he was like, I don't care, then call it something else. If you're calling it John Madden football, it's going to have 11-on-11. So it was pretty delayed hitting the shelves. So like no or very few football games beforehand ever did that. I mean, if you look, for example, football on the Atari 2600 is 3 versus 3 teams, and it is like literally like you can still pop in like Madden on 95 on Genesis, and you can be like, okay, I can have fun. You're not going to play it all night, but you can be like, okay, I'm having fun. You cannot play one of those games. You can't play football on the Atari and be like, I'm having fun. Like, it's unplayable.
Well, I mean, I don't even know how you do it with 3 people. Well, you just got a running back, a wide receiver, and a quarterback, and then on defense you just got a linebacker, a safety, and a cornerback.
Right. I mean, I guess they're all like safe backers or whatever. They're just like everything all together. So and actually, when I was coming up with these questions, I never played it before, so I looked at a quick video, and it's 3-on-3, and it just like some Atari games you can be like Pac-Man, cool, Frogger. Like it's still, you could pick it up and be like, yeah, but that's one of those games where it was just like, why would I ever play this?
Yeah.
Even back then, I couldn't imagine playing it.
And and to even consider it football, it's not football.
No, at that point, 7-on-7 for a while, games were doing 7-on-7. I could see that, I could get it, but like,
but there's something difference between having the full 11 because of the fact like you could play as that, like on defense. If you liked the safety, you could highlight the safety, and you could just be that guy and run around on the field if you wanted. You can't do that on a 3 or a 7 versus 7. So it's, you know, props to Madden for pretty much forcing them to.
He literally, that's a very famous story. He literally forced them. He was like, put someone else's name on it. And they were like, no, you're huge.
Right,
you know,
we want your name. It's going to sell.
And he was like, well, I don't care. And that's awesome, and that's indicative of you know, here's a funny just John Madden himself. Here's a funny Madden story. So I am not a Bengals fan.
No,
we've been over this before. I'm a Pats guy, and I rewatch a lot of the older games just to like get an idea of how football was different back then. So the Patriots' first Super Bowl in 2001.
Yeah.
The game was, oh my god, like let's talk about like Madden being different. The game of football was 1,000 times.
Way different back
just
then.
More brutal and
ground
and pound.
Yeah.
So it's the Super Bowl against the Rams, and the Rams just scored with about, I think it's 1:30 left to tie up the game.
Yes.
And Madden, and I forget who, but he's a great announcer. We're talking about it. I think it might have been Pat Summerall actually.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it, and they're like, you know, well, it's at least the Patriots, made it so it's going to be overtime kind of thing. Like, they should really think about just running out this clock. Because I think the Rams only had one timeout, so they could have literally kneeled it if they wanted to. And they're just sitting there talking about it. And that drive, it's so weird to watch that drive because it's like, people make fun of Brady for dinking and dunking, but that's how quarterbacks did it back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you see it and you're like the first play is like a 4-yard play that keeps the clock running. And you're like, and there's no like huge Randy Moss 100-yard play.
And there was also no sense of urgency.
There was no sense of urgency. It's so weird to watch. And then like at the end, when there's 4 or 5 seconds left, they spike the ball, and Madden's just like, well, would you look at that field goal range? And it's just like, it's very interesting to like, because it's been a while since Madden,
I'd love for Madden to call one more game.
Oh, that would be beautiful. So, like I said, when you hear his voice, like when I was watching that final drive, I was like, oh man, and it's just funny how he was just like, because that's how football was. Like normally you would just whatever.
It was like, to me, I use the comparison of like, boxing is an art, whereas like UFC, like you're trying to just beat the crap out of somebody, right? And so old football was like boxing. There was an art to it. You didn't run up the score if you had, like, there was this respect. And it was like, I should say, it was more like a chess match. Whereas now it's just do whatever you can do to move that ball because one, the players are faster.
Right.
Different schemes. There wasn't a West Coast offense 10 years ago. Wow, I gotta realize how far 10 years ago was.
But it was 20 years ago or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
it wasn't. But it also passing. When football first started, there was no passing. It was just running. You ran it every down. I think it was actually President Roosevelt who incorporated the pass in football.
I think you're right on that. No, it's crazy. And again, I don't mean this to be story time, but my dad always tells me he played football, and he was a starting, forgive me on this, dad, who will never listen to this, so I don't even have to say forgive me. I think he was a starting linebacker, and his build weight was like, and height was like less than me. My dad's only like 5'7" or 5'8", so he was like 5'8", 5'7", whatever, and like $150.
So I remember and he was starting. School, but I was he was kid, so
starting line. No, yeah, I know. Like I said, he's shorter than me. That's for sure. We all have a little bit of a belly nowadays, but he's always been the same height. So he was like a 5'8", like 150 or whatever. He was starting linebacker. Do you know what you could be on a high school team at 5'8", 150? The water boy. Like I don't even know if you could be the kicker or the punter.
No.
Like at that point. So it's like and I bet there are like some of these like D tackles I see, when we're like getting up in we're getting up in our 20s, and like you see these guys that are like 16-year-old, it's like 6'3", 260, and you're like,
how?
What?
How?
Like, so that's a great point. It's just like, I mean, you look at that and you're like, man, it is a different game.
It is. I mean, well, and I think too, what one of the big differences also now is it's a pass happy league.
Well, that's definitely true.
With recent, trying to protect receivers and all that, and quarterbacks at the same time, you've given the run. I mean, the run's great. Obviously, the run opens up your passing game, but it's such a big pass happy league. Whereas, if today's Pats, the way they play, would have been playing that 2001 Super Bowl,
right?
Totally different game.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Totally different game.
No question at all.
And totally different. It's a blowout for the Pats in the Pats' favor because it, but you have to take the rules with it too. The rules of today back to there.
No, it's just interesting. At the very least, you can look. It's just like baseball. Like in the '60s, it was like pitcher heavy. Like you would just bunt all the time and whatever. And then
it was more strategy and it still is, but not like it was.
Not like it was. So speaking of strategy, you mentioned that your next step after Genesis, you were hopping on to PS2, correct?
It was actually PlayStation.
Original PlayStation. PlayStation. With the Madden, 2000.
2000.
Okay.
Was the we got the PlayStation as a gift, and the first thing we did, we went out. I can't even remember where we used to get games. I think it was actually Blockbuster. You could buy games from because there was no GameStop.
Right.
I think you could buy games from them if you could rent it, and if you liked it, you could purchase from them.
Right.
And then there was Electronic Boutique.
Yep, and that's what eventually became GameStop,
right?
Yep.
And that was the other place, but that was at the mall.
Right.
That was it.
Oh yeah, and that's for those of you out there in big old cities. That's 30 minutes away for us. So that was like, Mom, can you take me? Oh, come on.
And there wasn't.
Today's my day off. I don't want to go to the dumb mall.
And in my family, there wasn't no Mom, can you take me? It was, well, the next time I'm going to the mall,
right,
you can come with. But I'm shopping all day. So it was
decisions.
It was like, I just want one game. So it was always
like, my thing's gonna take 1 second. Doesn't matter.
So I would always try to find like, I knew there was kids at school whose parents would do that, or they would just bike to the mall. I didn't have that ambition. I was playing video games. Right. I'm not biking.
so when we get to the PlayStation and the PS2 era, we see them go to the 3D. World.
Well, I think it's still in 2000. It wasn't quite. It still actually
it was
almost looked a little like.
It was like ish. It was like
the,
2.5.
The kickoffs changed a little bit. Play calling. The playbooks got a little more expansive. And I think that's when they started putting names on players,
like the full names and everything, instead of just the numbers. Yeah. So once you get to the 2D to 3D, let's say like the full 3D when we're getting around there, 2000 to 2003, how's that transition for you?
Actually, it didn't even register that like it was that much different, because at the same time other games at the time like Crash Bandicoot was a 3D where you were looking. It wasn't POV, but it's your third person. So like. You learn things like there was other games like Need for Speed, same type of thing where you can change, you're in the cockpit, you're whatever. So when you started playing Madden, it kind of like you were already used to the view from other games, that it was just like okay. And at the same time, it made it easier because it, like, especially if you were going to run, you could see the holes better,
right,
where you were running, because you could actually follow, and you could follow your blocker. But when they made it 3D, it got more sensitive of the fact of like, the other ones, it's like you had joysticks now, but like versus Sega. So with Sega, you could try to get your finger on the diagonal to try, but you were either running left or you were running up, or if you were running, or you were literally running on an angle. Whereas now with the new, you could run back, like run a sweep and just like make this gradual, smooth, round turn. That's when they started incorporating like the juke,
right,
and the stiff arm,
the hit stick, and all that
stuff.
Yeah,
and also commentary. There was no commentary in those earlier ones, so now all of a sudden, you got they're talking, they're saying the players' names, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, this is real. Like I never thought it was going to happen, but at the same time, it's still unrealistic for the fact that I can just airball out.
Right. But you're getting closer. Where like
we're getting
Madden
there.
Is like, and that is Andy Dalton with the completion
or the interception.
Yeah. So no, but you're right. I didn't even think about that. And like the earliest versions of the commentator, it's amazing for anyone who hasn't played Madden 17. Their commentating is 1,000 times better.
Oh my goodness!
And not only here's where we are nowadays with commentating. When you start up your PS4 every week, it'll be like, do you want to download the new commentating pack? Mm-hmm. It takes like a second, right?
Yeah.
And they will talk about what happened that week. I was just playing with the Cowboys today, and they were like, so Zeke in that Green Bay game gets 150 all-purpose yards. I mean, a great end to his rookie year. And it's like,
that's incredible, right?
Like it's like, dude,
it's up to date,
right. And they tell these stories, and it's like, however they do it, whether they fly them in all the time or whether they
just like have their
whatever,
voice on
I don't know, but like it's very impressive.
Because like in the old ones, like it would repeat. You would hear some of the same things. Like if you were running up a game, Madden would come and be like, oh man, I don't know why they're doing this. You'd think they just kneel the ball and end it. This just, and then Pat Summeralls or Al Michaels would just chime in like, yeah, and say something like along the lines of, it's just pretty much you're being disrespectful.
Well, I mean, even they do that a little bit nowadays, but it's nothing like it used to be. Even the first ones, and I can't pinpoint the year. The only commentary they would have is completion to Moss,
right,
and that's it. And it wasn't like third. They might be like 3rd and 10, And that's it. It's not like 3rd and 10. This is a big third down that you got to do. It was like and 3rd and 10. And completion to Moss.
And it was a text scroll.
Yep.
As well, like and then you'd read it, and it was like okay, but like even the when they came out for PS1, I think it was Madden 99 was when they went to 3D. I think it was 2000 or 2001 when they brought in like the commentary,
right? And
it was very very bare bones, just very basic. I don't even think they said many players' names.
It was probably only the big guys.
Right. Yeah. Like if you were to substitute another guy in who was like a 3rd string, it would just say, the halfback.
Right. It's
like
so much easier.
Right.
It's so much easier to do that. No, that is it's amazing how much that's changed. And actually, it's a good point you brought it up. I didn't even think about that, but that's night and day. Now, you mentioned to me before that the Madden games nowadays, they're so complex that you're starting to read defenses. Go through your progressions as a quarterback. Can you explain when you first started to feel that way about the games, and has it made you a better football fan?
I can tell you, it was I think it was Madden 25 because I didn't make up Madden 14.
Right.
Madden 25 is when I first noticed because there was Madden 13, and me and my buddies would play it. Same thing, just air the ball out. Last person to score, and then Madden 25 comes out, and I'm trying to play with my friends, and all of a sudden, this isn't Madden.
Right.
This is football. And so it was like, I don't want to play football. I want to play Madden. And so I remember, it took, like, I hated 25. Like, I was just like, nah, it's just a bad year. Next year will be better. And then I realized it's not getting any better. And I was like, I now have to change how I play this game. But by doing that, like, it made me appreciate football more. Whereas, like, I can now, like, I thought I knew football before. Now it's like I can sit there and watch a game on TV, and I'm reading coverages as like they hike it. And I'm looking at the defense. I'm like, oh, they're in a zone. Okay, look for a guy to break out, or look for like this to break the zone. And so, whereas before I just never thought of it. I'm just like, oh, throw the ball, he's open. But I'm not looking at the linebacker that's just sitting right here in the middle, like, who's spying. Like, I just never thought of it like that before because, well, I didn't need to.
I 100% agree with you on the Madden 25, because I think around when I started doing my Madden franchise that I have a lot of fun with, I think the first year was 15, but I started playing the game with 25. And I noticed right away that it was like much more like just pure realism. Like you cannot do the same play. And I'm not talking about against the CPU because that's a different thing. You can always cheese a computer, but against humans you can't do the same thing over and over again. It's just not the same thing.
No.
I've played literally probably online maybe 80 to 100 games this year in Madden 17, and I don't remember winning or losing by more than like 14 to 17. You know what I mean? Because it's just built like that,
and that's the other thing too. Like I always call it the drama effect, the Madden drama effect now, where I feel like it has to add drama into the game. Because there's games where I'll be playing not online, like I'll play split screen with a buddy, and there is no more just absolute domination. Whether it'll be all of a sudden you throw a ball to your guys wide open, but this linebacker here is going to jump 10 feet in the air, it seems, and pick it off.
us old school guys call it rubber banding. Now,
okay.
NBA Jam is an amazing example of this for Super Nintendo. I don't mean to toot my own horn here. Sorry, NBA Jam enthusiast. I'm pretty good at NBA Jam. Like, it's just one of those things where it's just a 2-on-2 game, but for some reason I'm very good at it. It has an obvious rubber banding in that once you get too far ahead, you will start missing everything.
Right.
Wide open, 2-foot shots will just go flying out. In fact, it rubber bands so much that you will miss dunks. And then if try it sometime. Anyone out there, go down by 20. Like just play against yourself with whatever, and then start the person who's down by 20. Start throwing it up right away. The second you get the ball, and it will start going in.
Yeah,
like it's just meant to be close. And I feel like Madden does not quite that bad, but something to make it nice. And close
no, like I can tell like when I'm playing, there's drives where I'm playing where I'm like, the team I'm playing against is going to score. I know they're going to score on this drive just because how it's going. I was able to shut them down the entire first half, and all of a sudden they go into a 2-minute drill. They're running the same style of plays, but now I literally cannot defend them. And there's times just right down the field, touchdown. And it's like, I know it's going to happen. And that's, like, I still love Madden, but it's not the same. It's not Madden anymore to me. It's
more
just football.
Okay.
It's football.
And I can understand that. It's like, and that's happening to a lot of games. I mean, you've probably played some of the newer Call of Duty games.
Right.
They're more like, well, I don't want to say realistic because they're all these futuristic kind of stuff, but it's like less crazy, zany, whatever, you know, just like, oh, I'm playing Time Splitters and I'm just messing around. It's like more realistic. It's like, it's not Call of Duty, it's war.
Yeah, you know? And it's not like, if we're going down the first-person shooter road, just to rabbit trail, Red Faction was a game for...
Right, and that one was, like, way over the top and stuff.
But, like, I loved it because it was just, like, this is what it is, and that's it. Well, you know, and even, like, the second one came out, it was the same premise. You just run around, you know, you'd split screen, whatever, and just... But then, you know, now the newer ones are complete garbage, but even if you go to like the old Medal of Honors,
right, or
like they were just good, you know, shooting games. Call of Duty, the same thing, but now there's like, oh, you can run on walls and you got these grenades, and it's like, this isn't fun anymore.
Sometimes it gets like, sometimes it gets to be a little too
you're
much.
Trying to make it so realistic that you're taking away the game. I play video games to escape reality. Right. I don't want to play video games that are reality. Yeah. I don't want to do that because now, which one is real?
That's why I don't want to play, like, I don't know if you heard that game 7 Days to Die. It's like, it's literally like a, and again, I'm very much simplifying this. It's like a Minecraft thing where you have to find stuff, you know, but it's like surviving, you know, like out there, like alone, you know, whatever, with friends you're playing with. So it's like, if I want to survive, I will, like, go out into the woods and like, survive. Or, like, I will pay my monthly bills and be like, whew, I survived. Like, I don't want to have to, like, be like, oh, man, I need to eat. Oh, I forgot to eat. I forgot to eat in real life. My bad. You know?
Like,
it's like a little
bit. It's like, am I fatigued or is my player fatigued? Maybe we're both fatigued.
Now, one of the big things about Madden that you mentioned is, and I just want to go into this just a little bit, is, like, the play calling. And I do think that Madden has helped me, like, understand what's going on through coaches' minds when you're wondering, or when you're watching. It is very easy as a fan to be sitting there. Now imagine a situation, it's early on in the game, you're on your own 25, so you still have the whole 75 yards to go.
Right.
It's like 3rd and 18, and of course, you know, you're like, oh, well, we have Gronk, you know, whatever.
Right.
Just bomb it deep. But then they run a draw play. And it's like, you're not going to get a first down out of that. It's like, right, exactly. But this defense is going to come out. They're going to be more likely than not blitzing, not going crazy. They're going to drop 7, 8 guys into coverage, and you're going to get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 yards. You're not going to get the first down, but you're going to move it up to the 35, and then the punt is going to be so much easier to pin them back.
Right.
And it's one of those things where if you're a casual fan, you're like, well, the whole point of football is to get first downs and to score points. It's like, absolutely,
right.
It is.
But it's not going to happen this drive.
Right.
So give it back to them so they can't. So hopefully the next drive you get it back. You'll try something different, and you'll move, and hopefully move the ball.
And that's the kind of stuff that, like, I do feel like Madden has helped me in, you know, in real life, just being like, oh, cool. Like, we do a flag football league. It's 5v5, and like I came up with all the plays, and like I did a lot of it based off of like misdirection kind of things from Madden, like learning it from Madden.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like, you know, these fakes and stuff like that, they're very interesting.
My brother and I used to do the same thing. We would literally take our favorite offensive plays from Madden, from our teams, and then when we play backyard football, like, and we would call the play, you know, whether, you know, I can't even remember some of them. One was just like a 5-step drop, but we would call it what they called it in the game, you know, Seattle, da-da-da-da-da. But, so I get that, but I think what I like the most with the new ones versus the old ones is it's realist, like, it is that real, where it allows you to now, like, if you watch Monday Night Football and you listen to John Gruden, he'll start talking about how the left tackle is doing, you know, and it's like, what? Right. You know, most people would be like, John, who cares? But I hear that and I'm like, no, I get that.
Yep.
Because there's times where I'm playing Madden, I'm watching, it's like, hey, I need this guy to make his block downfield so I can get to the second level, but he got held up here, so he's not going to, so it's like, I get what he's saying. So it's like it brings this whole new dimension to the game, which is great.
It is really nice, and it helps you appreciate, like, good football is everything. Good football is flying down the field, but then also on 3rd and 1, getting 2 yards by doing like a little,
a fullback drive, or whatever.
Right. And John Gruden's one of the few guys out there that does get a bit technical at times, and I can understand how your casual person would be like, dude, I don't care. No, it's a great point, and like now it's much easier to see the beauty. And again, I am spoiled in that I mean I watch all football. Like oh my god, Sundays in this house are like we have like 3 TVs going with different games. But I watch every single Patriots game, and seeing the beauty of like when they come out and you're like, a fan would be like, it took him like 10 plays and they're just like messing around and doing all these little things. It's like, no, dude, that was pretty. Like that was like every block. Like you get a little guy like Edelman, who's about my size, a little smaller than me, out there like blocking these huge like linebackers back enough to like
just giving it that extra second to set up this.
It is a pretty thing, and I'm not saying that without Madden I wouldn't have or whatever, but like I see it more because like I'll do a screen pass and I'll be like, what the heck is my right tackle doing? He's like, nah, if I would have had that one block, it would be a touchdown.
Yeah.
And you see the difference between I had a 7-yard loss or I would have had a touchdown. There is no difference there. If that right tackle would have got that block, it would have been the whole way. And
and but at the same time, with going off of that, then though, I'll see things on Sundays, and I'll watch how like a team's playing, or how a coach is almost calling a game play wise, like, all right, we're gonna if they're gonna come out and run heavy, and see how many times they'll do run to pass ratio, or how many play actions they're doing, or even defensively, how often they blitz, what down they blitz, and I'll try to take that and put it in my Madden game and see how it works. Like, okay, Rex Ryan, most of the times once the team gets past the 50-yard line on 3rd down, he's blitzing.
Right, yes. He has exotic blitz packages.
Right, and so it's one of the things, like when I played Madden, I never really played the blitz that much because I'd always get burned on it. But once you start learning blitz packages in the game, you can start kind of like, all right, well, hey, maybe not, especially if you're going to be playing the computer or you're playing someone online, they'll pick up on that. Right. Whereas like in the NFL, obviously the other team knows they're doing it, but hey, these are all professionals.
Right.
Going against other, so it's like you may know they're doing it, but it's like they're going to dare you to stop it.
Oh, I mean, there's times where AJ Green's a great example. Like they'll have AJ Green the whole way on the sideline and no one else over there, and you're like, boy, I wonder what's going to happen this play. And it's like, sometimes it's like, it doesn't matter, dude.
Right.
Like, it's going to happen. Like, when the Pats played the Bengals this year, the first half was like a really close game, and AJ Green was just like, I think, and don't quote me on this, I think Malcolm Butler was one-on-one with him. I think maybe they did the one with safety help. Anyway, so like Green, it would just be like, Green, and they're like, do you think that like, the Pats are like, should we cover Green? It's like, of course,
right?
You know what I mean? But it's like sometimes that's just
like, but can you? That's the big thing. And it's like you'll take, but this is the difference though than with Madden. So you could watch, the Pats, and there may be a drive where they go to Gronk 5 times in that drive, and they're going to Gronk. Like you just know by either how the game's been played before that, and what the situation is of the game. Like either like, hey, we need some insurance points here. I haven't really had that, but if you try to do that in Madden, and you try to go to the same guy,
they're gonna catch on it real quick. It doesn't matter who it is, right?
And it's like, and that was the thing with Madden that drove me crazy is my friends would pick plays and I knew what they were doing and I knew who they were going to, but defensively that's my weakest point in Madden.
Okay,
I don't know how to play defense, and so like I knew who they're going to, but it's like, what type of route is it going to be? Is it going to be a hitch? Well, if it's going to be a hitch, I should probably call zone. But if I call zone and it ends up being, just a slant, I'm going to get beat on that.
Right.
Because he's going to run between the zone. Well, then I should have man. Well, if I'm playing the Steelers, or against the Steelers and they have Antonio Brown in Madden, well, it doesn't matter what I call.
Right.
Like,
no, it's true. I guess that emulates real life
it's too. So in that sense with Madden, it drives me absolutely mental because it's not the same as it was before, whereas if you're playing someone who knows how to play good defense but not good offense, it's not this shootout anymore like it used to be back in the day where anybody from any skill set could just pick up the game and just you just have a blast.
It is tougher to get into.
And now it's like, if I play online, it's like, I think I'm all right. I go online, I'm playing against some guy, and I'm just getting
dude, like I said, I consider myself to be pretty good nowadays, and I just checked earlier. My record for the year is like 56 and 53. Like, and it's like
which
dude,
in Madden terms is a good record,
right? But it's like I look at it, and I'm like, I'm pretty good. I can beat most people that I know, but it's like I have like a 500 record online,
right?
So, let's talk future of Madden and all that stuff in general. Can you see a future where most football coaches, now this might be 10, 15 years from now, have at least played Madden a fair share? Now, it's tough to imagine Bill Belichick having been like, I played Madden. But
right, because he doesn't even use, he doesn't even, what does he call it?
Face snap or whatever. But, a young coach like, the guy who
Sean McVay.
There we go. Yeah. So, like, he's probably popped in Madden a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think anything, obviously he's not calling his play calls based off Madden.
Right.
But how do you think that affects them, having played that in the past?
I think, once we start getting some of these coaches that just keep getting recycled through team to team, and we start getting newer coaches in here, either younger guys who are coordinators, whatever. Yeah, I think there is going to be more coaches who have played Madden, but whether or not they'd use that as like a teaching tool or like I don't think Madden's that realistic to the point right now where they can be like, hey, last night I just played this game on Madden, and this is what we need to do to beat the Falcons. I don't see that happening. Now, I could see it as you could use it in a sense of like, all right, hey, you know what? I just played with the Falcons. You can do the thing where it's like, in Madden, where it'll tell you like, hey, here's the game plan. The computer kind of generates if you go into like the franchise mode, and it'll say, okay, this is the defense weakest points. Here's some plays of the game plan that the game drew up to try to beat this defense. In that sense, yeah, you could use that as a tool to be like, okay, hey, they're weak on this spot, they're weak here. But if you're a good coach,
I guess my question leads into, and we're talking about.
And maybe
now
I'm not
how,
understanding like the question entirely.
If I became a coach in 10 years, like clearly some of my knowledge will be based on the fact that I played Madden a lot.
Right.
I guess that's where I'm going into. Could you see that being? I'm not saying a teaching tool. This isn't. It'll never beat game tape or anything like that. But like you'd be like. You might even think it way back in the back of your head, but you're like, you put a lot of hours into it, you played the game, and you might be like, oh yeah, like, these certain routes, like, I kind of remember just messing around with that.
Oh yeah, in a sense like that, if like maybe you wanted to like jack a play from
right.
Madden,
if it works, man.
Right, if it works, it's like, in that sense, yeah, I could see, or just like a Madden concept you used to do when you used to play the like, hey, I needed 3 yards. And there was just this one, like, just like the ace in the hole, this one play I could always pick that would get me those 3 yards. I could see coaches in that sense, like, hey, let's try it, let's see what happens. So in that sense, like, yeah, I could see once, as I said, once we get some of these other coaches, right. I could see some younger guys doing that. And I think that'd be great.
I like I said, when we play flag football, sometimes I'll literally, because all my guys on my team have played before, and I'll be like, do you know the stick route in Madden? Like, when you call the play stick, it has that one guy, there's that one guy who does the little, like, semicircle.
Okay.
And I'll be like, it's quicker for us to literally be, and again, we're different than an NFL coach,
right.
Don't get me wrong, but I'll be like, you're doing that semicircle route. And they'll be like, okay, because we're, like, on the goal line. I'll be like, okay, cool. And it's not, I don't even say slant, I say you're doing that Madden stick route. And it's like, cool.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know, I find that kind of interesting.
My favorite's the, F angle? The fullback runs out this way, then cuts back over the middle.
I personally love, there's this play called halfback wheel that just has all 4 players doing these crazy things, and if you have enough time in the pocket for that halfback to, actually, let me I'll use this for you and people out there. I learned this from a couple friends who are definitely better than Madden than me. One of the things that you want to do, 2 of the things I started to do recently a lot more, if I come out in a 2 running back set.
Okay.
What I'll usually do is I will, if both of them run these routes, and they're little like check down routes, and I don't really need a check down, I will definitely, pay attention to my pass blocking. And I'll maybe if I have Dion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount, I'll have Blount pass blocking for me.
Right. And
then another thing that I've been experimenting with a lot is, motioning players isn't anything crazy, but doing like special kinds of motion is like kind of interesting. For instance, when you have again that 2 running back set, or even a single running back set,
Right.
if you set them to do any route at all, you can actually motion them out to right there. So you'll come out and you'll have like say that halfback wheel is a great play for this. You set them to a slant, you move them over, they're going to be just about in the slot, like right around the slot. You set them in the slant right there, unless they're playing really up with their linebackers. You have an easy like 6-7 8 yards right there. So
I started playing around with that. And before I do anything, I always try it out on the computer first before I take it online.
Absolutely.
And one thing I learned though with that, you have to be very careful what route you pick.
Yes, I usually
I should say, if you're going to put your guy in motion, and you're going to hot route him or change his route now. That's almost where now you have to learn. You have to know football. Right. Now you have to make sure where your other guy's going. Because there was one time I tried it, and I had 2 guys running,
and they just like ran almost into each other.
right into one another. But the computer had called man coverage. So at the time, I flag myself. I see that I'm like, okay, I want to hit him. I'm not even paying attention. I completely go to throw. Well, now there's 3 defenders right there because I accidentally ran my guy. And it's like, all right. So I've learned. Yeah, it's great, and I've gotten some big plays off of that, just sneaking them out there. But you gotta know what's going on with the play as well.
It's definitely a bigger chance. Another one that I really like, if you have a halfback in a wheel route. And you say, it doesn't matter if they're in shotgun or whatever, and you send them out, they will keep that and keep that wheel route. They will keep that wheel route, and instead of being like a longer to develop check down type of play, they'll essentially, especially if you can get them where they're almost on the sideline, they're essentially just going to run up the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's really hard to find a play where your player's literally tiptoeing the sideline, but that's one, and that's awesome. Now,
it's great.
Only if, again, you have like a really good catching running back. But I like that with Dion Lewis because it's like generally like their number 1 cornerback isn't going to be messing around, so I can kind of toss it and see what happens over there. So.
And see, here's the thing. Like, this is something I've learned from Madden. I would do that, but only if they had 1 safety over the top.
Right.
If they had 2 safeties over the top, I'm not even going to try to go deep because there's no point. Even if I run, it's like, hey, if I had AJ Green over here and I put Giovanni Bernard over here and try to do that. Maybe if I got AJ Green to go across the middle, I could maybe, but I'd like the game's smart enough to know the quarterback's going to drift over to your running back and the safety's going to move over to try to get your receiver if there's 2 over the top. So, and that's one cool thing with Madden where if you go back to the old one, when they started like 07, they started the hot routes and you could kind of put guys in motion. It didn't matter if there was a guy over the top. Your guy could just push triangle at the right time. You're gonna just jump up and grab the ball.
Yeah, it would just. Yep.
Whereas like now, it's like if you try that, there's a good chance you're gonna get intercepted.
Yep, you're gonna get burned real bad.
And it's gonna be devastating.
I do like messing around with that just to like throw my opponents off online, especially if it's an online opponent. You're only probably ever gonna play them once.
Right.
Another thing I really like doing to mess with people is I will send on a screen pass. I will send my tight end, especially if he's on the opposite side. I don't do them much because screen passes don't work really great in this game.
They used to.
But they used to. I used to do only screen passes. Anyway, so you'll send them over, especially the whole way across the middle, and right when they get to the point where they would be a blocker, quote unquote, then you send it. And even if they keep in their route and say they run across the field or whatever, you have definitely 1, if not 2, less defenders that are just like, what the heck is this guy doing?
Right.
Kind of thing. So, I don't know. I find that really interesting. I like messing around with that stuff. But we're running a little bit low on time. Mostly my fault. So, we have a couple of questions to just finish off real quick here.
Okay.
Now, VR, virtual reality, has emerged over the past couple years. I just the other week actually tried it out. Just a phone, the phone one. And it was interesting.
Samsung? Yeah.
The Samsung one.
I had that for a little. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But... Oh, continue.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was. I did a very simple thing. There was like a video where you're like walking at a very high altitude, and I'm afraid of heights, so that was a little crazy. And there was a pinball one where you literally look down, and there's a pinball machine, and you play it. It's just kind of very, very simple stuff. Now, VR is clearly in its infancy. I hope that they continue with it because I could see great stuff happening. But right now, it's very simple, as far as I'm concerned. So we're not quite there in terms of a Halo or a Madden, in VR yet. That's maybe down the line. That being said, would you want to play Madden on VR?
I mean, it's hard to say yes or no. If I'm going by what VR is today and what Madden is today, I can't say yes.
Okay.
Because like, I've played some VR games. I used to have this Samsung S7, and I had this game, and I had this little controller, a Bluetooth controller ball, and like it was cool in the fact of like I'm looking around, but then I'm using this to control, and that was cool. But I would hate to play a Madden game like that, where it's like I still need my controller, and it's like cool, I can look this way, and oh hey, there's.
What if it's like almost like a Wii? Like here's a good PlayStation 4. Their
Right.
VR uses the PlayStation 3 Move remotes, so
Right.
that one you could easily put your arms back and toss it. Now this brings me back to if you ever played NFL 2K back in the day.
No.
It had a famous first person mode, which looking back on it, I go watch some videos sometime. It's like sometimes it's weird if you're like a running back and all of a sudden out of nowhere you get like slammed.
Okay.
You know, so that makes me think like what would your brain interpret if you're just like running and doing
And
your
all of a
thing, and all of a
sudden,
sudden linebacker just like blows the crap out of you, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's videos now of people of playing, you know, with the virtual reality headsets and and they lose their balance, and it's
Right.
like I don't know what they're looking at, whether they're just like they're standing somewhere or looking over a waterfall, and so I can't imagine gaming wise, like I think it would take a lot to adjust to it. But my thing is like if I got to stand up and like move paddles and
Right.
I'm just gonna go out and play football.
Right,
Like, I'm just
right.
Gonna, you know, like, and so that's the thing I was saying earlier. Where video games now, they're becoming too realistic. They're not games anymore. Like they're games, but like, I don't want them to be this realistic. This is my escape from reality. I want to be able to just come in here and just dominate this team because it's a game for me. And it's like,
just...
and but at the same time, I do love the way it's being done now, and this new wave of games being so realistic to the point where it's like
they want the real thing, like
right,
where
you
with
get
VR,
done playing.
They want it literally like, okay, you are Tom Brady, you know,
right, and so like you get done
it.
playing, and it's just like, whoa, like that's how it feels to be an NFL player. This is what it's like in the huddle, like. And in that sense, like that'd be great because there's, you know, you can't get that experience, you know, using your controller or whatever. But if you can immerse yourself into it, yes.
Okay.
But I hope they don't just rush to be like,
we can
do it,
right?
Like really, like get it right the first time.
No, there's speaking of immersion, there's a good video I watched it on. I don't have a phone that can do that, but there's an NFL one where they have. Views from pretty much right on the corner of the end zone, and you can see in the VR like these famous plays from this year, like Odell catching a touchdown and stuff. And it's like it's bizarre. It's like bizarre to watch. Like you can be at football games and you're like, cool, it's Odell, but you're not like on the field level, like right there, and it's like crazy to watch. And you're like, whoa, I can see it all happening right here, you know, on my level, kind of thing.
There was talks, and I mean, obviously, there's licensing. I think the NBA was considering this, you know, just to gain some popularity through, and I'm not sure if PS4 got it or pretty much, but if they offered a VR thing, you could buy VR tickets to games.
Oh wow!
And then like they would make it live. And I'm not sure how they do it, but then you wear the VR headset, and it's like you're courtside. And you get to watch the game.
Love that idea. Everything in the world is a slippery slope. You can get to the point where then you're like, okay, I never have to leave my room, and that's
right.
That gets a little scary. But I love that idea, and like it's great for the NBA or say it's the Chicago Bulls or whatever. They can sell one ticket 50,000 times.
Exactly.
You know, and I think the one thing we need to do before we do that, is really good streaming and internet for everyone, because even that one video I was watching would like buffer quite a bit. It was like a 5-minute video. I mean, they're large files. And it wasn't live, and it buffered. Like you would watch a play and it would be like buffering, and you're like, okay,
right.
You know. And I understand because it's in its infancy, but that is like you are. I mean, that's gotta be hundreds of gigs for like the whole game to be like.
Oh my goodness!
You know, looking around the whole
you just
thing.
like you don't even have to watch the game. You can just sit up here and watch this guy at the concession stand,
right,
or whatever. Like, but just could you imagine that? Like Super Bowl comes around. Hey, it's in California. Well, I can't, you know. But hey, $200. which sounds expensive, but
comparatively,
compared to an actual Super Bowl ticket, and then flying to the event, whatever, $200, living room, 50-yard line, watch the Super Bowl. Like, would you not do that if you could?
I think I would.
I mean, I absolutely would.
That sounds pretty awesome.
But obviously, I mean, the NFL loves their money, so licensing on that, they're going to make sure they get a good deal on that.
They certainly
That's a topic for another day.
right. So let's finish things off by asking, going back again specifically to Madden, what is one, and I think I already know the answer to this, but what is one thing that the Madden franchise could do to instantly make itself much better?
Actually, it's one thing for me.
Okay.
And it's my biggest pet peeve in Madden. I like to play as a defensive lineman and get blitzes, and try to get to the quarterback. But if you break through and you're running towards the quarterback and you hit square to tackle the quarterback, but they throw the ball right when you press square, it will now jump you. You're now controlling the next closest guy to the ball. So depending on how they throw it, you can sometimes watch your players as the ball's traveling just start diving. But now all of a sudden you get to one-on-one coverage and your cornerback just falls over.
We've all been there, and that's an automatic touchdown
every time
in any situation.
No, but that is actually one of my
no. I totally agree. That has happened to every single person that's played Madden.
But on a more serious note, I think with Madden, I really wish they'd bring whether it's just a game mode and hey, I want to play on All Pro because I want the game to be more realistic. I want the game speed to be this. But hey, if I'm playing the Browns and I'm the Pats, I want to be able to go into this game and just dominate.
Okay.
And I wish there was still just I just want to go and crush somebody. Hey, after I get that, whatever, go. But I wish just want the game mode again where it's just kind of like classic Madden with better graphics, simple playbooks, just simple schemes. You don't need to know you don't have to be able to read the defense. Just go in there and just chuck balls, and just play old school style Madden. I wish they would have something like that again, where I don't have to change the skill level.
That's actually would be a pretty cool idea if they just it's almost like NFL Blitz, but without the violence and whatever.
Right.
The NFL NFL Blitz, but just like in terms of it's very simple, and it's
right.
Here's you're playing a game and you can just do Hail Mary over and over again, and it's okay.
I want to see if I can score 100 points.
Yeah, maybe a mini game mode or something like that. That would actually be pretty neat. And I think it would get your casual people in, because if I had a casual person over who never played Madden, I'm never going to be want to play Madden?
Right.
It's only my hardcore friends where I'm we're playing now, bro, because we're playing.
Right, but that was the thing with the old ones where it was heck, a lot of my friends didn't even have gaming systems or have PlayStations or PlayStation 2s or PlayStation 3s, but we could still just, well, not so much PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, that we could still just, hey, you know what? It's raining outside. Let's play a game of Madden. All right.
Yep.
And then just ball.
No, I think that would actually be a pretty cool mode. So Madden, as of right now and since 2005, is alone atop the pack of the only football game that exists. Very last question to bring you out: would Madden be would the video game football scene be better if Madden had a direct competition?
No, I don't think it would be. Madden, personally, is the greatest sports video game.
You don't. So I hate to disagree on this, but you don't think having a competitor out there would make them want to try harder and add some new stuff in?
No, because they used to have a competitor and they just dominated, and they haven't had a competitor since.
Well, it was 2K5. It was literally that's when they lost. That's when they gained the rights. Excuse me, the exclusive rights.
So okay. So 2005. So now that's 12 years ago.
Right.
They haven't had a competitor. Look at what the game has done in 12 years as far as just getting better.
No, that's a good point.
On their own.
I cringe a little when someone's Madden never changes, it's just roster updates and whatever, and it's
it does.
To an extremely casual person, I get it,
right?
But to anyone with any knowledge, it's Madden 16 to 17 was a huge difference. My goodness!
Player movement, just just the way the game was smoother, the way that it would play, blocks, all of that. But I think what separates Madden from other sports games is they have those licenses, and they are so closely tied with the NFL, whereas like they are getting real players in, they are getting real coaches in. They like it is as close to the NFL without being like without if you have like MLB, you have MLB The Show. I think there was
well, there's only one anymore. It's just MLB The Show, right?
Well, it's soccer. You have FIFA, and then you have like that
Pro Evolution,
right? But there's no like. Soccer's so big. It's so many leagues. There's FIFA, but then there's like, so it's like it's I don't know where I want to go with that, but
no, I can see.
Madden doesn't need a competitor for the mere fact that they literally it's the NFL's game,
right?
Made by Electronic Arts.
No, I can totally see your point, and maybe the fact that they have the single, use allows them to do stuff like have those two excellent commentators this year,
right?
Talk about the games every week. Whereas maybe if they didn't have the sole use, it might be different. That's a good point. Honestly, I came into it with the exact opposite answer, but I'm not gonna disagree with myself, just based off that. But I can I can definitely see your point.
Now I can see like where another game comes out and hey, they got different creative minds over there. It's like hey, they create this feature and it's like. Oh man! But you always got to look at the grass is always green on the other side of the fence.
Right, absolutely.
It's like, hey, cool, you have that one good feature. I have all of this. So it's like, in that sense, Madden's not worried. I'm not worried. I'm still going to buy the new Madden, even though it infuriates me next year.
I absolutely will as well. It'll be my most played game of the year unless something absolutely crazy changes. It's the only. It is the only, I play a decent amount of older games just to mess around. And, like, for instance, just before you came over, I was playing Last of Us. Sometimes I'll, like, hop onto a single-player thing. My only multiplayer thing I ever want to mess around with, unless it's like, hey, you want to play Mortal Kombat for a second? Great. But my only thing I want to get into is Madden. And it's just, like, that is, like, my fault. Absolutely my fault. It is something that I get really into and like want to win and want to be good at. I always swear at the TV. I always get mad. Yeah, but like it I will absolutely agree with you that it's always my most played game. It just is. The last 3 years it's been my most played game.
As I said, Madden was I don't play it as much as I used to, but Madden has always been just that staple in my video game career. I've always owned a Madden.
Right.
There's always been a Madden in my house with me.
And the only thing I want to see next year, I don't care about anything else. No more Patriots on the cover would be just awesome.
Madden curse,
even if they win the Super Bowl this year, and we're for anyone that's out there listening, we're doing this the week before the AFC Championship game. So by the time that you listen to this, they might have won the Super Bowl. They might have lost by 80 points in the AFC Championship game. But even if they win the Super Bowl by 100 points and Brady becomes the GOAT of all GOATs, I don't want to see him or any other Pat on the Madden cover because I still believe in the curse.
Oh no,
Gronk was on the Gronk was on the cover this year and barely played the first 3 games because of a hamstring issue. Played like 4 or 5 games and of course because he's Gronk dominated. And then had season-ending back surgery.
I'm going to nominate Matt Ryan or Ezekiel Elliott for the cover this year. Those are my picks.
Honestly, if it's how they always do it, and it's a vote, it's going to be Zeke. There's literally no question about it. Like it's going to be Zeke.
Maybe Prescott will get in the conversation.
I think people in general.
I think it'll go Zeke
because you still have the whole Romo it's like we got to do Romo or whatever at this point. I think that Zeke is like by far.
I still think Matt Ryan wins MVP. But
I can't even disagree with you. I think that in the way that it's given out, Matt Ryan's the MVP. I would still attest that Brady is one of the best players in the league.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted player in the league. He is just absurd. I think Brady is like the best field commander, but Matt Ryan's the MVP. There's no question.
Right, because without Matt Ryan, the Falcons do nothing.
Yeah. not a question at all. And I hope I hope so bad Patriots Falcons Super Bowl.
I'd love to see Patriots Falcons.
Doesn't that just sound awesome?
Oh, it does. But I don't want a rematch. I don't want to see Packers Steelers again.
Yeah, right.
You know,
and
it's
even
like,
even Packers Patriots is a rematch in '96.
exactly. So it's like, I don't
although
want to
no
see...
Desmond Howard this time, so that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've been rambling on long enough, but it's just one of those things when you just sit around and talk about football, you could literally for only playing 16 games a year, you really can just talk about it a lot, and maybe that's why. Like I find myself, oh god, I could keep going. I find myself following baseball less often because it's like I literally cannot. I still love the sport of baseball, but I can't come home every day and be like, okay, like I can look at the box score quick, but I can't be like, I'm gonna watch the whole game. But it's like Sundays, it's like it's a thing. My bud's over, we get food, blah 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 blah, and we watch it and we do fantasy and whatever. It's like an event,
right?
You know what I mean?
I'm a baseball fan between August and October.
Yeah, I can feel you in there.
Like April, and then August to October.
Yep. No, I feel you because in the middle of the year, it's like. It's hot. Leave me alone.
Right, and there's other things. I want
to do summer stuff.
But even now, like I'm all on football. What's going on? What's my team doing? Who they draft? How's this draft pick looking out?
They do so good at making it a year-long thing, man.
They really do.
The second that your team is eliminated, there's a good chance it's like, do we have a new coach? Do we have a new D coordinator?
Oh, yeah.
Who are we, literally the second week 17 was over, people were making posts, the Browns are on the clock. It's like, well, yeah, technically. Like, they are on the clock. So, anyway, that's it for us today, guys. Thank you for listening. I almost said watching again. If you have any questions or anything, any comments, put them below. And go football and go Pats! And thank you for listening. And thank you for being here, Ezra.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you again.